All right, good evening, everyone. Um, am I audible enough? Can anyone confirm you can hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
All right, good evening. Apologies, we are joining a bit. We are starting the class a bit late, so I guess some of us had challenge in gaining access to the platform. But we're going to start right away so that we can maximize the 1 hour class, the 1 hour time that we have for tonight. So last week we discussed with three of the top of the course outline. So today we're moving down to week four, which is an introduction to capital budgeting. And thankfully enough, some of us had requested last week that I should give you a hint of what we're going to be discussing today, which I did. So maybe we should take 2 to 5 minutes to ask, has anyone been able to go through the topic from last week till now? Anyone? Has anyone been able to go through the topic, or um you've not been able to, or probably you went through the topic, you had challenges, and that you would want us to discuss before I introduce us to the topic proper? Anybody? Anyone want to say something about capital budgeting? Okay, I want to believe that nobody has gone through the topic, which actually defeats the bank, which actually defeats the purpose of giving us the topic ahead of the class, because I would have expected that by now, even though we don't know everything about the topic, we would have a clue of what capital budgeting is all about, and we can just ride on that. So please, I want to implore everyone, as much as I know that we have a busy schedule. So many of us, quite a number of us are working. We have to go to office. Maybe some of us are even in the office as I speak. Nevertheless, there's a saying that whatever is worth doing at all is worth doing well. So please, as we give this topic ahead of class, ahead of the week, it is imperative that we do well. We try as much as possible to look at them, so that at least when we are coming back, we're not just it's not just a cliche, but that we have questions and things that we would want the class to address, and that's how we can have a productive discussion. So on that background, next week we're going to be discussing source of finance and dividend policy. So I'm just giving us this topic ahead because I don't know what the network will be. The network has been acting funny for quite some days now. So I'll just put the topic for here with 5 topics. So if I'm able to repeat it, fine. If I'm able to repeat the topic again, fine. If not, so please just take it here. Source of finance and dividend policy. This is what we're going to be discussing next week. So please do well to look at it, go through it, and let me have your view about it. So today we're looking at introduction to capital budgeting. Capital budgeting. So let me start by defining the word budgeting. Budgeting. Chinwedu, when you hear budgeting, good evening, what comes to your mind? What can you say about budgeting? Hi, Chinwedu, are you there? Hello. Am I audible at all? Can anyone confirm you can hear me?
We can hear you, sir.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. I just want to be sure I'm not talking to myself. Okay. So when you talk about budgeting, someone else, global mission, can you say something about budgeting?
Actually, budgeting is a financial forecast of income and or financial forecast or estimates of income and expenses.
Okay. Financial forecast of income and expenses. Very correct. I mean, it's good you even mention income. Most times people believe that budgeting is all about expenses alone. It's all about expenses alone. But from what you have rightly said, budget is both income and expenses, right? But for tonight, we're going to focus mainly on the expense parts. And when you hear capital, I'm sure there's something we call capital expenses, capital expenditure, and recurrent expenditure. And when you hear capital expenditure, what comes to your mind is projects, capital spendings, investing on equipment that will serve for a long period of time. So that is capital projects, so to say. When you hear anything capital budgeting, what will come to your mind is looking at projecting for a particular period of time towards investing in something. Sorry, please hold on. Excuse me. Okay, apologies for the background noise. Okay, so what I was saying is that when you hear capital budgeting, what should definitely now come to your mind is that projecting for a particular project that we want to spend on. So, briefly, in a nutshell, we can say that capital budgeting is a technique that is used to evaluate a project and, of course, to determine if the project is worthwhile or not. The same thing, we have defined budgeting as an estimate to mean that we want to look at it. Okay, how much are we going to spend in the next few months to come, in the next few years to come, and what have you. The same thing with capital budgeting. The difference between capital budgeting and recurrent budgeting is just that capital budgeting usually will last more than a year. So you cannot say you are doing capital budgeting for 3 months. No, you usually do that is what we call recurrent expenditure budgeting or budgeting, as the case may be. But when you talk about capital budgeting, you are looking at it, say you want to invest in an intensive project, you want to embark on a project, and then of course you need to budget as a result of that. And you want to see, maybe you want to even invest, and you want to determine, you have seen cases of companies that want to divest due to one reason or the other. A company that is into manufacturing and suddenly decide to go into bakery, you want to see, will the project be worthwhile? Does it make sense me divesting into a new area, or should I look for a seemingly not too new per se, but at least it is still within the same manufacturing sector, but different from what I am currently doing. So you want to make that analysis and be sure that you're on the right track. And then, of course, if that is the case, then capital budgeting will answer those questions. So that's why we have said it is used to evaluate a project and to determine if a project or investment. I had to include the word investment because we don't only use it for projects, it's also used for investment. And we want to see if the investment is worthwhile or not. And there are so many techniques, you know, so many techniques of looking at so many techniques of considering a capital budgeting. We have the NPV, that's the net present value technique. We have the IRR, that is internal rate of returns, and many others. And we also have the ARR, accounting rate of return. I'm sure we discussed that last week. And we also have the APV, adjusted present value. But we're not going to talk about adjusted present value now. Probably in the course of the weeks, we're going to look at what adjusted present value is talking about, because it will actually demand that we look at one or two illustrations, one or two other topics before we can fully grasp what we mean by adjusted present value. So for tonight, we'll just be looking at the we're going to be going straight to illustration and look at one or two question as the case may be. Of course, as usual, we'll have the question presented. You can take a screenshot of it, and then we can now look at the solution together. But so that we don't spend much time on the question, probably we should just start with a simpler one. Then we can go look for a more complex one for us to close the day. Sorry, just a minute. I'm trying to look for a more simpler one than the one I have here. Okay, maybe I should start by asking, are we all familiar with NPV? Can I get it?
Yes, sir.
I think all of us practice through
Yes,
Yes, we are familiar.
Maybe a little refresher course, because some of us have left school for a very long time.
Okay, I quite agree. Quite agree. Okay, maybe just a little question just to refresh our memory on what NPV is all about. I was thinking of just taking a more complex question before, but based on what Mrs. Patsy has mentioned, I would just post. Let's see this. Can I try to share the screen? Can I copy? Okay. Just a second. Okay. Long document. Please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, sir, we can see it.
Okay. So given that, so we have years and we have cash flow for year 1 to year 4. So given that scenario and assuming a discount rate of 30%, So what would be, and an initial investment of let's say 10 million, then what would be the NPV? Can we quickly try that? Is this something we can try?
So what's the discount rate?
30%. Trying to see, trying to make it bigger. Okay. So just assume that year zero, that you have an initial investment of 10 million, and what would be the NPV? So I just want someone to, please, Akpan, can you help us when you are done? You share your screen and you just explain to us what you've done.
Okay, sir, please, the distance factor is how many percent?
It's that I said 30%.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right, so I'll give 5 minutes for that. When you are done, or if anyone is done before Akpan, just signify by raising up your hand, and I will allow you share your screen so that we just take that and we move on from there. So just to refresh our memory.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm a first comer. I'm attending the class for the first time today, sir. And
Okay, welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. And I also joined late. I would want you to just briefly summarize the topics you people have taken in this class. Let me just write them down for reference purpose.
You mean for today or since we started?
Since you started, sir.
Okay, I could recall last week 3 weeks ago. So this is the 4th week. Welcome again, Mr. Matthias. In the first week, we look at introduction to SFM, and we considered the various functions and roles of someone who is a financial manager. And in second week, let me see. In second week, we talked about business valuation and analysis. And
Okay.
in the third week 3, we talked, that's last week, we look at working capital analysis and management. So today, being the 4th week, we're considering introduction to advanced capital budgeting. So, and that's where we are talking about the NPV, ARR, but because I believe that some of us must have dealt with it intensively, either when we were looking at it from public sector accounting and finance, during our skills days, or maybe even in any other course, performance management must have done justice to all those. So I really don't want to bore us with that. But just to refresh our memory is why we are looking at just a question under net present value, and we'll move to a much more complex question. So that's where we are. So do well. You can read the topics on your own. If I remember, if you are on the member area, you can also have access to more question and answer on that.
All right. Thank you so much, and God bless you, sir.
Welcome.
Hello, sir. I'm not the NPV is 4,993.
Hi, peace. Are you done?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please, can everyone mute? Mr. Matthias, can you mute your mic?
All right, sir.
Okay, peace. Are you ready to share your screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please share your screen. I'll stop sharing now. So I'll stop sharing. You can share your screen.
Sorry, sir. I do not know how to. Maybe I can just explain my outcome, what I have.
So you have two options. It's either you share your screen or you take a picture of what you have done and put it in the chat box.
Okay.
So, and it's not hard for you to share your screen. If you see an icon beside where you have a hand, the
Okay,
next
I've seen it.
icon to your left you've seen it, right? Have you seen it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so please share your screen. Thank you. Okay, great. All right. So can we see what you do? Oh, okay.
Can you see it from there?
Okay, I can see your screen.
Okay.
Okay. It seems you're having a challenge doing that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I
Let
think
me
because
just
you're
I can just type the whatever I have on the message box.
okay, all right. Just let's okay, no problem. Let's hear what you've done.
Okay, I on the year zero. I on my paper here I have years the cash flow, the discount factor, and my PV as the present value. Then I have year zero. My initial cash outlay was 10,000 naira, which is in bracket. Then my year one cash flow 8,000. My year two I suspended 3 zeros. That's why I'm having 8,000. Year two 5,000. Year three 6,000. Year four 49,000. Then my discount factor of 30%. Year one is one. That's year zero is one. Year one is 0.769. Year two is 0.592. Year three is 0.455. Year four is 0.350. When I multiply with my cash flow, my year one is 6,152. Year two is 2,960. Year three is 2,730. then year 4 is 3,151. When I add both of them together, then subtract from my initial cash outlay, my NPV, the net present value I'm having is 4,993. So can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay.
Okay,
So, does anyone have a contrary attempt? Can you please mute your mic? Please, after mute your mic. Okay. Does anyone have a contrary
Excuse me, sir. The
attempt?
volume, sorry to cut you. The volume wasn't so clear, so I could really get our explanation.
Okay.
Sir,
But
please,
did you?
excuse me.
Okay, go
So what
on.
is the initial outlay?
Initial outlay. I gave 10 million as initial outlay.
Okay, I got 4,960 million.
Positive or negative?
okay, let's
Positive.
Positive.
that will be approximation of error from the discounting factor.
So again, you also have to be mindful of approximation. Of course, I don't expect everybody to get the same answer because of approximation. So unless if the question expressly states, which they will usually do, what they want you to, like the nearest, if it's to the nearest whole number, or probably they want it to be 2 decimal place or 3 decimal place, as the case may be. But if the question is silent on that, definitely everybody will have different answers. But what I'm even particular about is your DCF, what we call discounted cash flow. Because once that DCF is wrong, every other thing will be wrong, and that is the formula. And of course, I'm sure we are all aware of the formula for calculating our DCF, which is 1 plus R, 1 plus R raised to power minus N, or some people will say 1 plus R divided by N, whichever way you want to adopt the formula. But what is important is for you to apply it appropriately. So having said that, but was anyone, what's the word now? Does anyone have any challenge implementing this?
Yes, sir. I
Yeah,
got
like
I
I
got the same
mentioned, I
sir. I got the same discounting figure with her.
Okay.
But what I even the cash flows, I got the same with her. Where I'm having
Okay.
issue is where I will apply the initial 10 million cash outlay to get the MPV. But I got the same discounting figure, the same
Okay.
cash flow.
You got the same discounting figure and the same cash flow with her, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
for you,
yes.
to apply the, what's it called now? For you to apply the initial capital outlay, year 0, you know that we have 4 years, but of course in NPV you are meant to start from year 0. So for your year 0, the DCF is usual. So we believe that anything raised to power 0 is 1. So for your year 0, your DCF is your discounted cash flow will be 1. So, and of course, 10 million multiplied by 1 will also be what? Will be 10 million. And so it is from that. And meanwhile, your unless otherwise stated, your year 0, your cash flow is usually positive. So it is from now, after year 1, we believe that you will be spending. Year 1, you will spend. Year 2, you spend. Year 3, you will spend. Year 4, you will spend. So, and that is the idea behind deducting your 4 years cash flow from your initial deposit. So eventually your cash flow for year 0, which is the initial deposit, will still be 10 million. Right? But after that, from year 1 to year 4, we now differ. So, and that is where so whatever you have for year 1 to year 4, you add it together and you deduct it from your initial capital of year 0, and that gives you your answer. Is that clear
Okay, sorry,
enough?
sorry, sir. Let me ask again. For instance, I want to be factual.
Okay.
Like in year zero now, from your
Okay.
explanation, the DCF is 1. That
Mm-hmm.
automatically means my cash flow will be 1 multiplied by 10, which is um, the initial cash outlay.
Yeah,
Is that what you meant?
exactly. So for year zero,
Okay,
your
so
cash
if I
flow will be 10
multiply
million.
it, so my MPV for year zero will then be 10 million. Is it what you mean?
Your PV, not your NPV. Your PV,
Okay,
your present value.
yes.
Yeah, your present value for year zero will be 10 million. Your net present
Oh,
value is your final answer.
okay, okay. So with this now, like in my year one, we have the first spending is 8 million.
Mm-hmm.
From what you shared, we have 8 million. Then the
Yeah.
discounting factor there is 0.7692. That was what I got, and that was what the person got as well.
Okay.
0.79, that is to 4 decimal places.
Okay.
0.7692,
Okay.
which I am to multiply with the 8 million, right? To get
Okay.
the cash flow.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, whatever I got as the cash flow is what I will minus the 10 million from to get the PV.
So whatever you got from the PV. Now I gave you your cash flow already. You multiply by your so cash flow multiplied by DCF is your present value. So you have present value for each of the years. Present value for year zero, present value for year 1 to year 4. So whatever you get as present value from year 1 to year 4 is what you will deduct from the present value of year zero that will now give you your net present value.
Okay.
Yeah. Is
All
that clear
right.
enough?
Thank you.
All right.
I will go through it later. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So you can go through it later and then let's know if you have any further questions or concerns. Okay, so we have another question. I'm sharing my screen shortly. Hmm. Just hold on. I think an information is missing in the question I'm about to share. So please, this question that I'm about to share, we may not exhaust it this night. So I want to implore you, please do well to take a screenshot of it. I'm not sure we'll be able to solve it completely tonight, but just do a screenshot of it. I would appreciate if you can attempt it, and then by the time you come next week, I would expect that you ask questions on 1 or 2 areas. But what I would just do is just try to give an analysis of the question, and if we're able to attempt the first one, that would be great, and then the second one will we'll see what we can do to it. Probably when you attempt it the next week, you can come and ask questions about areas that demand clarification. Just I'm trying to see if I can have it on a screen so that you can just do a screenshot at once. Just hold on. It's a bit lengthy. Okay. Just hold on. Invisibility. Sorry about this. Okay, so this is the best I can do. Please confirm. Let me know when you can see my screen. Chinwe, do you want to say something? Hi, Chinwe, do.
Sorry, sir. Good evening. I was having network issues, so I didn't get them, but I've seen the question in the chat box. Thank you, sir.
All right. All right. Okay. So we're looking at the question on
It's
the
too
screen.
tiny.
What do you say, Josephine?
Sir, can you zoom it in? It's too tiny, sir.
Yeah, I know it's tiny, right? But the challenge is that if I zoom it for people doing a screenshot, you won't be able to do a screen grab of all the questions. But maybe I would okay, let's do it this way. Let me zoom it. If you are done taking the first part, let me know, and then I will present the second part of the question. So just hold on. Let me see. What's this?
Yeah, it's okay.
I need to hold on, just hold on. Okay. Okay, so just let me know when you're done. Oh, this is 220. This is too much. Just hold on. So this then means it's okay. It's so can I present the next screen?
Yes, sir.
Just give a thumbs up if you are done taking screenshot or writing this speech. Like I said, I think it's divided into 3. Okay. Can I have one more person? All right. Okay. Finish. Can I do bingo? Okay, B is just the last one. Okay. Hi, Mr. Matthias.
Hello, sir.
Is it the second screen?
Yeah,
Can we go ahead?
Yes, this is the second and final screen. Mr. Matthias, are you saying something?
No, sir. I just want to let you know that I have screenshot.
Okay. All right. So let me get a thumbs up also when you are done. I need one more person. All right. So let's look at the question together. Mr. Jibo. Mr. Jibo, you were raising up your hand before. Okay, so I'll read the question. It says Golden Gate PLC is a private transport and distribution entity in Nigeria. It is considering three investment opportunities which are mutually exclusive. Now, pardon me because of time. I was going to define some concepts when it comes to capital budgeting, but we don't have that time. But I'm sure if you go through the video lectures, you should be able to get some what's the word now? You should be able to get some hints or headline or guidelines as to the introduction to some of these terms. So when you say mutually exclusive projects, so usually that means that there are two projects. When they say there are two projects are mutually exclusive, it means that you cannot do one without the other. You cannot do one without the other. When you do one, you have to also consider the other. Now, they said that they are mutually exclusive. The company has no cash reserve, but could borrow a maximum of 30 million at an interest rate of 10%. So at times they will tell you that projects are divisible. What does it mean for a project to be divisible? It means that you can do a project and not do the other. But when you have an investment where they tell you that they are mutually exclusive, it means that they are tied. They are not independent of the other. Sometimes they will tell you that they are mutually independent. When you hear the word they are mutually independent, it means that I can do project A and not do project B, or maybe I can do project A and C and leave project B. But if they tell you that they are mutually dependent or they are mutually exclusive, it means that if I do A, maybe I must do part of B, or if I do A, I must do part of C. That is, they are related in a way. So these are terms that I thought to provide explanations to. So you could also read that as well on your own. So they said these projects are mutually exclusive. The company has no cash reserve, but they could only borrow a maximum of 30 million at an interest rate of 10%. Borrowing above this amount might be possible, but at a much higher rate of interest. The initial capital investment required, the NPV, and the duration of each project are given below. You have the data there. Okay, Mrs. Patsy.
Sorry to take you back, but the question you gave us said not mutually exclusive, which are not, but you're saying they are mutually exclusive.
So
I was
explaining is I was explaining. Okay, please mute your mic. So I was trying to explain what mutually exclusive mean, and not really saying that the project is mutually exclusive. So when they say that this project is not mutually exclusive, what they are trying to say in essence is that, okay, maybe you can do one and leave the other. So, but I'm just trying to explain that when you hear mutually exclusive, what does it mean? When you hear please mute Mr. Matthias. Hello.
Hello, sir. Sorry, something touched my screen. I'm trying to set it up.
Okay, please. Because
I would need
it distracts me when you are not muted. I hear myself from your device, and I'm a bit distracted.
okay,
Okay,
sir.
so moving on from that, I'm trying to say that. So I was just trying to explain what it means to be mutually exclusive and to be mutually dependent or independent. But this question we're looking at says that they are not mutually exclusive. What that means is that I can do one and leave the other. Now, they said the following additional information was given. They said the projects are not divisible and they cannot be postponed. That means now, contrary to what they said here in the above question, the additional information gives me a bit clarity. They said the projects are not divisible. Mr. Matthias, are you still not able to mute? Thank you. So it's based on what I have in the additional information which I'm working with. They said that the projects are not divisible and they cannot be postponed. That means I have to do the three together. Now, the discount rate considered appropriate for all the three investments is 12% net of tax. Now, this has already given me the DCF. Now, this is good enough. There are some questions that they will ask you to calculate the DCF yourself. They will not give you the DCF. You will have to calculate your DCF, discounted cash flow. And in that case, that is where your work will come into play, weighted average cost of capital. Now, we have not really delved into that, but I'm sure there will be maybe week 7 or week 8 thereabouts. We're going to talk extensively about weighted average cost of capital. But it's just good to mention it that there are some capital budgeting questions, especially if it's going to be compulsory. Let me say it again. If capital budgeting is going to be compulsory, usually ICAN will not give you your DCF. They will expect that you calculate your DCF on your own. So in that case, what they will do for you is that they will give you all the necessary information for you to calculate your work, weighted average cost of capital, and whatever it is that you get as your weighted average cost of capital net of tax. Please take note, net of tax. I'm sure, I think, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, we were talking about dividend, cum dividend, and ex dividend. I don't know if we've not talked about it. Please, it's something that we need to touch. Now, when they say cum tax, what do they mean? It means that they have considered, they are saying that that particular percentage has tax in it, and by that you have to take away tax. If you hear anything, so let's say they say that the discount rate appropriate for all three investments is 12% cum tax. Just for example, if you hear that, what that means is that they have not taken into consideration the corporate tax of 30%. And that means that whatever you are using as your DCF, you have to first of all take into consideration the tax element of it. Now, whatever you have as net is what you should use. But thankfully enough, this question already said that it is net of tax. So what that means is that they have already taken into consideration the tax element of 30%. Now, they've given you the corporate, they said the company pay corporate tax of 30%. Assume cash flow other than initial investments occur. They said assume cash flows other than the initial investment occur evenly throughout the project. So what is the initial investment? Remember that they said that if you read the question, they said the company has no cash reserves, but they can borrow a maximum of 30 million at an interest rate of 10%. So that 30 million becomes your initial investment. Now, irrespective of where the source is coming from, maybe the source, maybe it is being borrowed or what have you, irrespective of where the source is coming from, they said that our initial capital has already been given to be what? To be 30%, to be 30 million naira. And of course, they said that that you should assume that cash flow occur evenly throughout the entire project. Now, in this case, they've given us our NPV 15.4, project A, project B, and project C. and they already gave us the years, right? Let me see something. Okay, indefinite duration in years. NPV after tax. Oh, sorry. Let me make it. If I thank God I even spotted that. Now, if you look at the question on the screen, your initial investment is for project A is 15.4. For project A is 15.4. Please take note and make that correction when you are attempting the question. Your initial investment for project A is 15.4. Initial investment project B is 19 million, and your initial investment for project C is 12.8. So the 2.75, 3.6, and 3.25 are your NPV after tax. While your duration, which is in years, the first one is 6, the second one is 7, and the third one is indefinite. So please take note of that adjustment so that you are not a bit confused when you are trying to attempt the question. So going for the required, calculate the profitability index and equivalent annual annuity for all three projects. Explain the usefulness of this method of evaluation in the circumstances here, and recommend which project should be undertaken. Explain the difference between hard and soft capital rationing and which type is evident in the scenario here. Discuss briefly the advisability of the directors. Discuss briefly the advisability of the directors of Golden Gates. Let me read the final part of the question. Okay. Discuss briefly the advisability of the directors of Golden Gate limiting their capital expenditure in this way. Okay, so maybe we just unfortunately this is 8 p.m. already. If we start the question, I don't know how far we'll be able to go. Okay, maybe we should just further analyze the question. What is the first thing first to do? Anybody? If you have this kind of question, what would you do first? We are aspiring chartered accountants. So what will you do if you find yourself in this if you find this question in the exam mode? What will be the first thing to do?
You draw your table kind of as in year 1, year 2, year 3, then the initial outlays, the cash inflows, then the discount factor, you arrange it that way, PV, then the NPV at the end before you start working.
Okay. Before you start working. Okay. Okay. But of course, you know that questions like this, you are meant to use you are going to. Is someone else speaking? Okay, peace up, man.
Sorry, sir, I just wanted to say something. The A part says that we should calculate the profitability index. I think my suggestion that we divide the NPV after tax by the initial output.
I didn't get peace. Your mic is low. Can you speak a bit louder?
Okay, I'm saying the question says we should calculate the profitability index. That we can do by dividing the NPV by the initial capital outlay to get.
Okay. Go on, I'm with you.
Then, and secondly, we now calculate the individual increment annual, the other one by that replacement method by summing up the DCF by either year 1 or year 2 replacement method.
Okay. Um, fair attempt, like you said. So, but of course, the question says that you should calculate your profitability index. So, and like you mentioned, the first thing is to look at it to say, what is the formula for calculating my profitability index? The formula for calculating my profitability index is my NPV, divided by my initial outlay. That's my initial investment. And like I've rightly mentioned, that in the question, excuse me. So in the question, your initial outlay, which is also known as your initial investment for project A, is 15.4. For project B is 19 million. For project C is 12.8. So of course, you need to calculate your profitability index for the entire three. Meanwhile, don't forget that for question 1, it is 2 in 1. You are not only calculating your profitability index, you're also calculating your EAA, what we call equivalent annual annuity. And the formula for calculating your equivalent annual annuity is your net present value divided by your annuity discount factor. And this is where the formula for your annuity comes in. Your annuity formula, which is 1 minus what's the best way to put the formula now? Let me see if I can put annuity formula here in a way that everyone could understand. 1 minus 1 plus R, close the brackets, raised to power minus N, everything divided by R. So looking at the chat box, is this formula clear to everyone? Can you please check the chat box for, so that is majorly the formula for annuity. 1 minus 1 plus R raised to power minus N, everything divided by R. So that is what you are going to use to get your annuity discount factor. Chinwedu and Peace. Let me have Peace first. Hi, Peace. Okay, you raised up your hand.
Okay, no, sir. Maybe it's the old one.
Okay, Chinwedu.
Okay, sir. In a case where you have indefinite for when to apply that annuity formula, so what do you use in replace as in to replace the power of n?
In the case where you have what?
In the case where you have indefinite as the number of years or number of time periods to replace that the power of n in that your formula, what do we use when we have indefinite years?
Okay, so there's also a, what's it called now? If you are using your calculator, there's a sign. So instead of your hand, if you put it, so instead of that n, which is the number of years, your calculator allows you to unfortunately now I cannot pick the sign for indefinite on the calculator here with me. Okay, maybe I will, so that I don't delay the class. I'll check the calculator. There is a way you can actually put indefinite as against the number of years on your scientific calculator, and it gives you what it should be. What it should be similar to what we have for Project C. So I understand what you say, because definitely for Project C, you will have a figure. You will have a figure for Project C as well. And of course, it has to be calculated using your scientific calculator. But for now, the calculator I have, it's not, it's a bit manual. So I'm unable to decipher where we have the infinity power. Okay, peace.
So can't you use 1 over R for the infinity, as in 1 divided by the rate?
One over R, or you say 1 over N. Which one?
1 over R. Rate.
So for the rate, yes, we can, but at times you might just want to also compare your answers directly with what you have in the calculator. Of course, yes, we've had some textbooks, some authors that uses 1 over R for infinity, right? Yes, that is also correct, but at the same time, it's good to just do it scientifically on the calculator and get your answer. Of course, yes, if you are using a calculator that does not have infinity sign, maybe an option to consider might just be that 1 over R that you mentioned, but I just prefer to just do it directly on the calculator, and I get my answer straight using the same formula. So use the same formula where you have N, it allows you to just put the infinity sign. But like you said, if you find yourself in a case where you cannot apply the you cannot apply the infinity sign, just make use of 1 over R, and then you get your answer as well. So it may not be the exact answer, but I mean you should be close to what the examiner is looking for. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So given what we have, okay, Mr. Ajibo.
What does the equivalent annual annuities measure?
What do you say, sir?
Equivalent annual annuities, what does it measure?
Equivalent annual annuity. So of course, what that measure is that it allows us to know. It's just similar to what profitability index also measure, but just that the metrics at which they use is different. So the equivalent annual annuity approach, it is used to determine the constant annual cash flow. It is used to determine the constant annual cash flow are we sure that at every period of time we're still going to be getting this amount of money, or how much are we going to be getting? That's why we call it annual discounting factor. So
Okay.
we call it annual because we want to know every year how much are we going to be getting given the project at hand. So with that, we are able to also, the equivalent annual annuity helps you to rank the project. Of course, you know that by the time you finish all your calculations, the idea behind equivalent annual annuity is for you to be able to rank this project. Project A and Project B, you are going to look at it. Which one should you consider? If you do, and don't forget that they said that these projects, they are mutually exclusive. That is, they are not separatable. So you want to look at that. Means you cannot do one project. You have to do a minimum of 2. So your equivalent annual annuity will help you to look at it. Okay, if I do project A and B, what does it come to? If I do project A and C, what does it come to? If I do project B and C, what does it come to? So you are able to compare and contrast with the help of equivalent annual annuity. But the profitability index in a way will just tell you how much profit will you get if you do project A, project B, project C. Then you can now marry the two, add it together. But if you use equivalent annual annuity, you can look at it at a glance, looking at it. So usually, most times when they say that they are not divisible, it becomes difficult for you to use profitability index, which is one of the demerits of profitability index. But with the help of this equivalent annual annuity approach, you are able to look at them together as one, and then you can make a decision. Josephine Akwada.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Josephine, your hand is up.
Yes, sir. I want to ask, at some point, I lost out, but I want to ask if the cash inflows, I mean, yeah, are we going to write it in full or like 5 point, can't remember the figure again, 56.4, like 56,400,000. Are we going to write it out complete before solving, or we can just use it like that?
So there's no one way to do that. You can either decide to write it in full, and you can decide to write 56.4. But what matter most is consistency. If you look at the question, I don't know if you screenshot the question, you will discover that we have N in million at the top, right? And then that was why we're able to abbreviate the figures 15.4, 12.7, and all of those. But if we don't have that NM at the top, we will have to write the figure in full. So the option is yours. You can decide to choose. Maybe I should share my screen for the last time. So you can see this NM that is up here. It is because I have this NM. That's why I can write the figures individually, 2.75, 3.6, 3.25. But if I don't have these symbols at the top here, I will have to write the figures in full. 2,750,000, 3 million, 3.6 million, 3.250 million. So the option, the choice is yours. You can decide whichever one works for you. But like I said, you have to be consistent. So usually the challenge with this is that we see times where students are not consistent, and at the end of the day, they confuse themselves and of course end up getting the wrong answer. And that's where most students get it wrong at the end of the day. So there's no one size fits all. Choose what is convenient for you and work with it. So that's what I would say for that. Mr. Jibo. Mr. Jibo, are you saying something? Or is that an old hand? All right, so let me take Mr. Femi Oni for the last contributor for today.
Yeah, thank you very much. I most appreciate your effort. But my question is regarding one. I have like one or two questions. The issue of CumDiv that you mentioned, I don't think we have taken anything on CumDiv or XDiv that related to work. So I really appreciate if you can be, taking cognizance of what you have taken. You've taught us all. The second one is regarding this calculator. You said when you were about to show us something that you have a manner. I just felt that this class, I believe, should be able to even give us new things about calculator. I believe you should always have scientific calculator with you. I'm very sorry for that. That's at least to also show us some things, because I believe, we must also be fast in answering the question. So I really appreciate that each time you are coming, that you have also your scientific calculator. Probably there are some things we don't even know that you can also show us. And the last but not the least, I can see the way we are taking, and with the little knowledge I have in SFM, and if one has gone through the video, it's like we are paraphrasing it somehow. I would like you, if from the syllabus, if you can just help us, that the mark that is allocated to most of all these subtopic topic. For instance, we are taking the capital budgeting now. What's allocated to it? Weighted average capital was allocated, so that at least by the time we are preparing on our own, we know where to focus, because there's every possibility. And I think you've also mentioned it earlier on in the course of this lecture, that one may not be able to cover everything, so that at least we know where to concentrate more. Then when you know how they allocate the mark, at least you'll be able to know how to focus your attention. Those are the three major questions I have. I want to know how you can really throw more light to it.
All right. Thank you very much. Peace, I'll come back to you. Let me answer Mr. Femi's question. All right. So on the first one, you made mention of XDiv and CumDiv. Yes, I said that I wasn't sure if we are taking that, but you actually said, looking at your notes, we've not taken that. Of course, yes, we will. We will look at that extensively by the time we are looking at weighted average cost of capital. Weighted average cost of capital is a topic on its own, right? And we're going to deal with it as much as possible within the time frame that we have. So next week, let me look at what we have for next week. I think I posted that on the chat box already. Hold on. Okay, in fact, okay, fantastic. Next week, we're looking at source of finance and dividend policy. So we're going to have a taste of weighted average cost of capital. If we're unable to finish it, I think what we've done is to extend that topic to week 6, right? So if not next week, by upper week, we're going to get to weighted average cost of capital. And then under that, by the time we're looking at dividend policy also, we're looking at Modigliani and Miller and all of those theorists. We'll also talk about the CumDiv and XDiv that I made mention of. And by that, you can also relate that to the cum tax and X tax that we have discussed today. So that's that on your first question. So yes, to answer it in brief, we're going to get there. If not next week, upper week, we'll talk about WACC and we'll talk about the CumDiv and XDiv in detail. That's number one. Number two, unfortunately, I'm not in a place I can share my video. I will show you my scientific calculator, right? I have scientific calculator with me, which I use. Of course, there are some of these answers that I won't get if I don't use scientific calculator. But the challenge, like I said, scientific calculator differs. So the one I'm using here is Casio FX991MS. There is another scientific calculator that has what's it called now? That has infinity sign. Most times, this is the calculator that most people use when they want to go and write ICAN exam. But me, my own, I don't use this. So not because I'm lazy, but because I just try as much as possible to efficient and fast. So I have another one, which of course, unfortunately, I don't know, probably maybe my wife or I don't know how it got misplaced somehow. So there's another scientific calculator that has the infinity sign. So there's another scientific calculator that has infinity sign other than the one I have. The one I have is the general one. In fact, let me say 70 or 80% students use for exam, but this is not the one I use. I use the one that has much more functionality, and it is also Casio and also a scientific calculator. So that's the second one I thought to provide clarity on that. I don't come to class without a scientific calculator. I go about with it, and I try as much as possible to use it in solving questions. So on the third one, in terms of percentage allocation to topics, I would say that everybody has access to the syllabus. The syllabus is public out there. So if you just research ICAN syllabus, you are going to see the one on SFM. And thankfully enough, I don't think that has changed. Every topic in SFM has their percentage allocated. So for this topic that we're looking at, you will see the percentage allocation there. So of course, the way I will, what we have done in Study Good Academy is to break all this topic down. Of course, ICAN will not give you, if you look at SFM, for instance, I'm not sure you are going to have up to 12 topics there for SFM. So they have their own percentages. We cannot, for instance, now the topic I'm having next week and upper week, they are combined together in ICAN Pack. If I combine it together, I would be doing more injustice. So because of that, I cannot say, okay, this week topic on capital budgeting has 10%. Next week source of finance has 5%. Meanwhile, what we are following in ICAN, which is ICAN Pack itself, ICAN might have combined like 3 or 4 topics together, which I won't combine for you in this class. So that is the reason why I cannot categorically say that this is the percentage that will be allocated to the topic I'm teaching in week 3, percentage allocated to what I'm teaching in week 4. What I can advise is that please go back to ICAN syllabus. When you see the ICAN syllabus itself, it gives you the percentages for each of this topic. And when you see the percentage, you can say, okay, capital budgeting is a standalone topic. It has 25%. Then you can know how you can channel your energy to it, like you've rightly mentioned. So I would say the master document that guides everything that we do in Starry Gold, that guides everything that all tutor houses do, is ICAN syllabus. So please get yourself a copy of the syllabus. It's out there online. You can get it on ICAN website, and you have access to the percentage division. So that would be my answer to your 3 questions, sir. Peace.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. I have calculated the PI for the 3 investments. And
Peace, your voice is very low. Can you speak up?
Okay, sorry. I'm saying that I have calculated the PI, the profitability index for the 3 projects. And the project C, the third one, has the highest, being 0.254. And the second one followed this by 0.89. Then the last one, which is 0.179. And I also have done the annuity for each of the projects. So I wanted to know, what should I be dividing by the annuity? Is it the initial outlay or which one to get the equivalent annual annuity?
So for the equivalent annual annuity, you are expected to use the NPV. NPV divided by annual discounted factor. So NPV divided by your annuity is what we are going to use to get your equivalent annual annuity figure. So your profitability index, of course, because of your network, I couldn't get what you said. I couldn't take your figures, but what you should get for profitability index for project A, you should have something around 17.9%. For project B, you should have something around 19%, and project C, you should have something around 25.4%.
Yes, those are the figures I got.
Yeah, so that's your profitability index. But for your equivalent annual annuity, it will now be your NPV, which has been given in the question, divided by your annuity discount factor. I've already given the annuity discount factor formula in the chat box. So just go there, pick the formula, get your annuity discounted factor, and use that as the denominator to the NPV, and that will give you your equivalent annual annuity, EAA. So you can do that, and then probably share your solution next week, and then we can take it up from there. All right. So on this note, I want to end the class. We'll probably take it up from here next week, looking at source of finance and dividend policy. Source of finance and dividend policy. So please do well to look at the study it in the video lecture, get textbooks, get materials that can aid your understanding of the topic. And based on what we have done today, also, if you have access to the member area, you will see more of those questions there that you can lay your hands on your own. And then when we come next week, if we have the time, we'll delve into it. We can answer your questions based on what you have done from the members area. So we have questions for this week there, and I'm sure probably in the course of the week, Starry Good Academy will also post the solution so that you can compare what you have done, and if there are areas where you need questions, clarification, by the time we come next week, we can start with that, and then before we go into the topic that we have for next week. So thank you everyone for your time, and you have a great week ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you. We really enjoyed your lecture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.